I got something super cool for you today. Yeah, seriously. Today on Curious Minds, we're diving deep into Anna Karenina by Tolstoy. I mean, this book is like a roller coaster of passion, tragedy, and, social commentary, and I'm really curious about what all that means.
Absolutely, Anna. I'm super excited to unpack this masterpiece. Tolstoy really crafted a world where love, duty, and society collide, and there's, so many layers to explore. Emotion, politics, even philosophy. It's a real deep dive, and I can't wait to share my insights.
Right, so, let's set the stage. We're talking about a world of grand ballrooms, sweeping trains, and intense personal drama, all against the backdrop of 19th century Russia. And yet, these themes still, resonate with us today.
Exactly. And in the next hour, we're going to peel back these layers. So buckle up, because we're about to get into the heart of Tolstoy's vision, how love conflicts with society's expectations, and what it means to be truly free or doomed by your choices.
Okay, so let's start with a quick recap of the story. I mean, for those who might not be super familiar, Anna Karenina is about this beautiful, tragic love affair set against a rigid social structure. Anna, a married aristocrat, falls madly in love with Count Vronsky, and it's like a collision of passion and duty,
Right, and what makes it so compelling is the contrast between the inner lives of the characters and the oppressive societal norms. Tolstoy doesn't just tell a love story. He's, questioning the very fabric of society, the nature of happiness, and even the meaning of personal freedom.
Yeah, and I love how the novel splits its focus. On one hand, we have Anna's doomed romance, and on the other, there's Levin, this character who's almost like Tolstoy's alter ego, who's on a quest for meaning in everyday life.
Exactly, and that duality is what makes the narrative so rich. While Anna's story is tragic and, frankly, heartbreaking, Levin's journey is introspective and philosophical, offering a kind of counterpoint that really invites multiple interpretations.
So, if we look at Anna's choices, they seem to be driven by a desperate search for authenticity, but then society with all its rules and, expectations crushes that authenticity.
Yes, and that brings us to one of the most fascinating debates. Are we, as individuals, truly free to follow our hearts, or are we doomed by the weight of tradition and social obligation? Tolstoy leaves that question wide open.
So, Adrian, let's get really into it. What do you think Tolstoy was, really trying to say about love and duty? Because, Anna's passion is almost like a rebellion against a predetermined role.
Oh, for sure. I think Tolstoy's narrative is layered. On one level, Anna's pursuit of forbidden love is an act of rebellion. She's, trying to break free from a life that society has mapped out for her. But then, there's the tragic irony. In her defiance, she's also trapped by the very passion that sets her free.
Right, so it's her love is both liberating and destructive. It's the more she tries to be true to herself, the more she's pulled into despair.
Exactly. And then you have Levin, who represents a different sort of journey, a search for meaning through labor, connection with nature, and, spirituality. His story is more about self-realization, which some interpret as a subtle critique of the upper-class obsession with social status.
That's really interesting. So while Anna's path is a descent into tragedy, Levin's is more of an introspective quest. And it seems like Tolstoy is holding up a mirror to the contradictions within Russian society and, by extension, our own modern world.
Yeah, and you know what's cool? There are, so many interpretations. Some scholars see Anna as a victim of an oppressive social system, while others view her as a tragic hero whose downfall was inevitable. And then there's the argument that her story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unbridled passion.
Oh man, I'm loving this. So many layers, and it's almost like each time I read the book, I, pick up something different. It makes me wonder if maybe the tragedy isn't just in the story itself, but in the fact that life is full of contradictions and ambiguous choices.
Totally. And that's where Tolstoy shines. He doesn't offer neat answers. He challenges us to reflect on the nature of happiness, sacrifice, and even the moral ambiguities of our choices. It's like he's asking us, what would you do if you were in their shoes?
Yeah, and it really sparks a lot of introspection. I mean, sometimes I feel torn between following my own desires and, meeting others' expectations, and that, I guess, is what makes this book timeless.
Absolutely. And speaking of interpretations, there's an interesting discussion about the role of fate versus free will. Do you think Anna's path was, predestined by her nature and her circumstances? Or did she have the agency to change her destiny?
That's a tough one. On one hand, you see how every choice seems to lead her down a darker path, but on the other, maybe each choice was her way of, carving out her own identity, even if it led to heartbreak.
Right, and that duality, being both a prisoner and a free agent, is, one of the most compelling aspects of Tolstoy's writing. It forces us to consider how much control we really have over our lives versus how much is dictated by external forces.
Okay, let's talk about why all this still matters today. I mean, even though Anna Karenina is set in 19th century Russia, the themes feel super relevant in our modern lives. What do you think, Adrian?
Oh, for sure. I mean, think about it. Even now, we're grappling with the conflict between personal passion and societal expectations, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or even how we express ourselves. That tension is everywhere, and Tolstoy's work really captures that struggle.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the book makes you question things like authenticity versus conformity. I mean, in today's world of social media and constant comparison, that message is even more poignant.
Definitely. And I think that's why every time I revisit Anna Karenina, I find new layers. For instance, some interpret Anna's downfall as a critique of the superficiality of high society, while others see it as a universal commentary on the human condition, our desire to be seen, understood, and loved, even if it means defying convention.
Right, it's every time I listen to or read something about it, I discover a different perspective. And that's really the beauty of literature, isn't it? It's open to so many interpretations and can speak to different people in different ways.
Exactly. And speaking from my own experience, reflecting on these themes has made me think about how we define success and happiness. It's not just about external achievements, but about being true to yourself, even if that means going against the grain.
Yeah, I really relate to that. And it's a reminder that sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that force us to confront who we are. It's, both inspiring and, a little heartbreaking.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this conversation so vital. We're not just talking about a book. We're talking about life, identity, and the courage to live authentically, even when the odds are stacked against you.
Totally. I mean, in a way, Anna Karenina is a mirror that reflects all our own dilemmas and dreams. And it really pushes us to question, what are we willing to sacrifice for love, for freedom, for our true selves?
Right on. And as we wrap up our discussion, I think it's important to remember that Tolstoy doesn't hand us the answers on a silver platter. Instead, he leaves us with questions that continue to resonate long after the final page is turned.
Okay, wow. That was a deep dive. I mean, I'm still processing all these thoughts. Today, we explored how Anna Karenina is not just a tragic love story, but a multifaceted commentary on society, fate, and the choices that define us.
Absolutely, and I hope our conversation today inspires you to, revisit Tolstoy's work, or, even better, dive into it for the first time. There's so much to uncover in its pages, and every reading can be a new journey.
So, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a comment with your thoughts or interpretations. What do you think Anna's choices say about us, and what would you have done in her place?
Yes, we'd love to hear your views. And don't forget to subscribe to Curious Minds for more deep discussions on literature, life, and everything in between.
All right, thanks so much for joining us today. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, every book is a gateway to a new perspective.
Take care, everyone, and see you soon.